to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. Joy and I are two very old friends that love to talk about murder and everything else.
Cheryl, yesterday I took my youngest child to a college orientation. She's not leaving for like another 5 weeks or so, maybe a little bit, a couple days more, a couple days less. But it was such a different experience. So with our oldest kid, the orientation was sleepaway orientation. So you drop them off and then the school put them in groups and then they slept in the dorms and we weren't involved. We weren't allowed to be involved.
Wow.
It was very much kind of like a sleepaway camp feel. Obviously, all these kids are graduated, but this one was an all-day orientation. Parents were very much involved. And they separated the group so that the kids, did, this and that, while the parents did this and that. And then we came together for lunch. Now it's totally different because my oldest child is going to a school with over 30,000 students. And my youngest child will be going to a school with like 1,300 students.
Wow.
And then my oldest child did the conventional application for college and acceptance, etc. And then my second child is actually going to be doing NCAA Division II sports. So it's just such a different experience. But I'll tell you what was not it was the experience that I remember, and that was that we ate lunch in the cafeteria. And boy, let me tell you, I'd like to say that college cafeterias have come a long way since I was in college, but they haven't.
There's a big button there.
The food still tastes the same. It's garbage. I had gas all night. And then this morning, it was like a 5-alarm fire in the bathroom. We had to fumigate and plunge and, rehydrate and moisturize and spray the spray.
And sanitize the hell out of it.
Surprise, surprise, we're back to talking about poop is what I have to say.
Favorite subject.
Yeah. And then today, my oldest child turns 21, which is a real milestone.
It's
I feel like after 21, the next one's like 30, and then it's like the zeros, the 40s, the 50s, so happy
21.
Birthday. And
happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah, it's such a big milestone.
It is. It's huge.
So anyway, I don't know how it's possible to have a 21-year-old since I'm only 35. It seems like the math just doesn't work out. And also I think we should put more emphasis on the fact that 35-year-olds doing podcasts with 84-year-olds is pretty cool.
Who's the 84-year-old in this scenario?
You are the dog. You are the dog.
I'm the dog.
I am the dog. So anywho, rolling on into our updates. For those of you who are waiting with bated breath for the new Golden Bachelor, that's you, Francois. The latest is that we will be that show is going to start in September of 2025.
Ooh, I bet she can't wait.
And my kid already said, "Mom, I'll watch it with you." But then the realization was she's not going to be here; she'll be at college. So,
but I think
guess what that means?
She did say, "If you pay me again,
you're gonna watch it with me." And I'm kind of excited because he's in your corridor, like age-wise.
Oh.
He's kind of a dish.
Yeah.
Anyway, for, whatever. And then also I'm not going to say it. And the other update is for Squid Game fans that season 3, season 3 drops on June 27th. So I'm super excited. They kind of left us on a cliffhanger. So remember season 1.
Wait. Are you spoil? If anyone,
I'm spoiling it for you, but
if
season
you haven't
1,
watched it, fast forward.
You could watch season 1 as a standalone show and not watch season 2, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you knew that they were going into season 2.
Yeah. And you know how I felt. It took me a little while to come around to season 2. I was a little bit disappointed in some of it, but then I remember what it was when I saw season 2. it had been a while since I watched season 1, so it wasn't like there was continuity, right? So I watched season 2 by itself, and I didn't love it. I liked it, didn't love it, but then I went back and watched season 1 again and went through season 2 right after, and that made it a lot better.
That's a huge commitment to Squid Game.
I've seen the whole thing. I think I've seen season 1 and 2 like 4 times.
I've only seen season 1 once, and I've seen season 2 once. But I did go back and watch like the last bit of season 1 before season 2 so that I could feel like I knew where we were starting.
Right.
And then during season 2, there were little bits and pieces that I went back and watched just because I wanted some clarity on them.
Right.
But I had to tell you, like, I got so excited for season 2 because when you go and see that doll and he's explaining to them, like, you know, don't move and blah, blah, blah.
And nobody believes
and
him.
And they're just like, are you kidding? They're going to kill us? Like, blah, blah. Spoiler alert.
Well,
anyway,
we said that already.
But I'm really looking forward to season 3. 1, because obviously the main character knows that the guy who he thought was his friend is now like
is really
the game controller guy or in charge of games or whatever. And it's the brother of the cop,
right?
You know,
right.
So it's just, I'm just so
is
looking
he the
forward
dark
to
man? What's his name? There's a character name.
He's the guy with the gold.
You think as many times as I've seen it, I wouldn't know what it is.
Anyway, and then finally last night, one of my kids got us to sit down and watch this movie, Sinners. It's in theaters right now. Obviously, you can buy it if you want to stream it at home. It was fantastic. If you like vampires and you like history and you like music, this is the movie for you. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to give anything away, but maybe like if you watch it, we could do maybe a little review on it because I think it got 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now I know that like we don't always like agree with Rotten Tomatoes, but I will say that it was so creative. The thing that I love about a new movie that's fun for all ages and interesting, and gets good ratings, etc. And there's a lot of hype I feel like they're always something new, and I feel like a lot of movies it's the same shit, same story, and this was so innovative. Now I'm not into vampires or gore or stabbing or like even into extreme violence, but I do like some violent movies, but this was great. It checked a lot of boxes.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, Cheryl. Interesting. Yeah. Cheryl.
And Michael B. Jordan is in it.
He is, but
he's cutie.
But I didn't find him like, I don't know. I didn't look at him in that vein in this movie, and maybe because it was historical, like it was like in the 1930s.
He's still
cute.
He's
which
still
is funny because I still think Colin Firth was amazing in the original BBC Pride and Prejudice, and that was like 1802. So
yeah. Well, I didn't see Sinners, so I can't say, but Michael B. Jordan is dreamy.
Well, we have it if you want to watch it. Chloe bought it. So.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, you can see it whenever you want.
Okay.
Anyway, what about your updates?
My update has to do with North Carolina. I'm going to give little updates. So the one thing I noticed is that there is a wrong way sign, which is very useful. Right? Because what if you're going the wrong way on the thing?
But it's confusing.
But it's so confusing.
Because you think you're going the wrong way all the time.
I thought you were going to say, what are you talking
No,
about?
it's so confusing.
Guys, they put it in the middle of the median. The median now. So it's in the middle of the 2 lanes going north and south or east and west. So the other day, I turned onto the street and I saw wrong way in red, and my heart was in my throat. And then I went, no, I'm on the right. I'm going with the cars. It is so, and I noticed it actually as soon as we came into North Carolina. I was like, those wrong way signs need to be put only like on the outer side of that lane, so it only pertains to that lane. They put it in the middle.
I think what it is if the wrong way sign is on your left, it applies to the other side. If it was on your right, it would apply to your side.
No.
It's so
what?
confusing. And you know what else is confusing? I'm just going to add on to that is the
roundabouts.
flashing yellow turn.
Oh, you know what? So
That
Arizona
isn't- we don't
trained
have that
me.
in California.
No.
It's so confusing.
But they have it in Arizona, so I kind of got trained there.
I don't like it.
I know.
Because sometimes they also have the green turn arrow, but then all of a sudden the green turn arrow turns
It's
into the
a
flashing
yellow.
yellow. And I'm like, no, I don't get what that means.
When I first moved to Arizona, that took me a while to get used to it. And also their lights were like off of the lanes. You know, in Arizona, like the lights weren't over the lanes that they were, that it pertained to. I know it sounds weird, but so like if it was too far this way, then you're just thinking, which light am I following? It's very confusing.
It is.
But that flashing yellow is very confusing.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
Your wrong way signs here. Whew, I got so scared. My body, you know how your body just goes cold?
No, I've slammed on my brakes before in the middle of the lane and been like, am I going the wrong way? And the kids are like, I think mom's been day drinking. Because they're like, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, I'm not sure. No, I'm on your team with that one.
Wow. Anyway, it keeps you on your toes. That's
it does for sure. For sure it does. That's a good update. Anywho, I am going to roll into shout outs. I have a shout out for our 27th country. I just want you guys to know that it's so exciting to add new countries. So I want to welcome our 27th country, that is Chile. In honor of Chile, I'm going to give you guys a little message in Spanish.
Oh, this is going to be good because she's an expert.
Bienvenidos nuestros oyentes nuevos. Estamos agradecidos de teneros escuchando nuestra pequeña podcast. Trabajamos mucho para traerles episodios interesantes y mucha información cada semana, así que bienvenidos y esperamos que les gusta mucho todo lo que están escuchando y si hay algo que quieren escuchar o oír, mándenos un email o publicar un comentario en TikTok, Instagram o Facebook y intentaremos investigar y grabar cosas para ustedes. Nuestro email es murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
And she said, welcome. That was the entire note.
That's right. So exciting. Anyway, if you want to hear a podcast entirely in Spanish, let us know too, because that will be so fun. Cheryl will interject things like, interesante. Sí. No. And that'll be it.
Loca.
Anyway, Cheryl, you got any shout outs?
You know what? I have a shout out to this little device. I don't know if you can call it a device. Is a device only electronic? When you say device. Anyway.
Well, I'm pretty sure that a vibrator is a device.
Yeah, well, that's electronic.
No, it's not. It's battery operated.
Well, but still, it's not a... So, whatever. It's a thingamajig, okay? So, in the many places that I've lived having a dog, there have been many different ways that I've bathed them. Okay, I started off with just them in the tub, and I would use a cup, to fill it up and rinse them and whatnot. And then I got a hose that you attach to the tub faucet, but that's always difficult because it has to fit over whatever faucet you have. And then, I've been places where you have a handheld shower thing where you can bring it down. And then I've used these standing tubs, so that made it great. Well, so here you don't have the handheld one in the bathroom I'm using. So I found if you guys are in a situation where you don't have a handheld shower thing that you can bring the hose down to bathe your dog, I found this thing called, and I'm going to tell you, it's the Magic Shower. And it's called a low-stress dog shower, which I think is so funny. Huh. It's this round silicone thing that you hang from the shower head, so you don't have to change or do anything to the shower head.
It's like a funnel?
It does have to fit, yeah. It does. It's like a funnel. So you click, and the bungee cord. I mean, for yours, it held great. You put this bungee cord thing, and then you tighten it. Like they use just the people that created it. By the way, proceeds go to like they help. They donate to like dog shelters.
Bosnian refugees.
Yeah, exactly. With every purchase. But yeah, and then there's a hose that comes down.
Gift with purchase, you get a Bosnian refugee that comes to your house.
Oh my God, to bathe the dog. Anyway.
That's just a joke, by the way, people.
Yeah.
That's not for real.
God, I know you have to actually put a disclaimer in there. But yeah, so you don't have to like change any of the fixtures in the shower. It just hangs. It's like a funnel, and there's a tube that comes down. Because one of the other things is some of the things I've used, there's not enough water pressure that comes through it. Well, this is just gravity. Yeah, it worked great.
That's cool.
And I didn't have to manipulate anything or change your shower head or do any of that. So yeah, it's called what did I say it was? The Magic Shower, and you can get it on Amazon, of course. Maybe Amazon will
and maybe
sponsor
you can,
us.
Maybe you can get it somewhere else.
The Magic Shower, maybe.
Because that guy Jeff Bezos doesn't need your money.
Maybe you guys will sponsor us. The Magic Shower.
Magic Shower. You can send us like 3 boxes of them.
I
Cheryl will use a different one every day.
Yeah, I think it was these 2 guys that were like, they were going to wash their dog and they were having a hard time. And it is hard because you have to find like the right size and the this and that, and then it's leaking and blah, blah, blah.
The right size what, dog? Guys, I had to tell you that Cheryl staying here is so crazy because it's saving me so much money because she doesn't like to go shopping. And so I'm not going shopping anymore. Like I've only been shopping
I've stopped
1 or 2 times since she's been here. And it's like I don't know what to do. And then also I ordered a bunch of stuff online, and when it came I sent it all back. So
what does that have to do with me?
Because it's like it's good for the pocketbook. So anywho, I just wanted to say that.
That doesn't make any sense. How does my presence curb your shopping?
It just does.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask me why. Anywho, guys, this week we are heading away from murder. And like I even stopped getting normal pedicures because they shamed me into it because I was going like every other week. And then they were like, didn't you just go last week? So I canceled my appointment and pushed it out for like every 3 weeks. And you know, what's funny is I thought my ingrown toenail would be really bad, but it's not.
Oh, see, there was a silver lining.
This week we're heading away from murder. And Cheryl had this great idea and she suggested it to me. I talked about it in the past with Cheryl, but never here. And that is, she said, why don't I talk about being a nanny? And so I said, that would be great because for those of you who follow this podcast, friends of the show, you know that I am a part-time nanny, have watched children for many, many years. I call myself a nanny, but you could call me a babysitter. I mean, it's the same damn thing.
What's the difference?
Well, a nanny usually comes through an agency and there's usually like, very defined like pay and benefits and hours, etc. Whereas like a babysitter is just somebody who comes in and watches your kid, like, so you can go to the movies or to dinner. I call myself a nanny, but, I'm a date. Basically, I watch kids. So anyway, let me just... Yeah,
but you cook and you do a lot of
Yeah,
other
I
stuff
do chores and stuff, but that's also because I'm a mom and I don't like to... I have ADHD, so I don't like to sit down. But let me just start out by saying that I love babies. So, and I didn't always love babies until I had babies. So it really helps if you love children. Because if you don't like children and you decide you want to get into this line of work, it would kind of be like becoming a veterinarian and hating animals. I would just recommend that you like kids, you like the process of being around kids. It works better if you grow up with siblings. Usually only children don't really do really well in this environment because, or they find it stressful.
Okay,
but
wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
So how did you want to have children if you didn't like children until you had a child?
Well, I got married in my early 34, and I had my first child at 35. I will say that I really attribute it to marrying the person that I knew I could have kids with.
Aww.
And that I knew was going to probably do 80% of the work and be a phenomenal parent. That's one of the main reasons.
Oh, that's so good answer.
Good answer.
Good answer.
Anyway, also, I just want to also say that there are licensed and unlicensed caregivers. That is like, if you're going to take care of more than one child, you know, that's considered daycare, and you should definitely look for someone who's licensed, because that means they have insurance, they've taken classes. If someone's just watching one child and it's in their home or in your home, then that's babysitting, and it's very different. You don't need a license for that. But obviously, please have cameras, because cameras are really important.
Yeah, we said that. Yeah.
And then this is just my experiences. I'm not condoning, or I'm not, giving professional experience for someone else to use at their job. I just want to make that clear as well. So, a little background. I only babysat once ever when I was 12 years old, and it was 3 kids.
Whoa.
The youngest one was
at 12. 12 is so young.
Yeah, the youngest one, maybe I was 12, 13 maybe. The youngest one was 10 months old. She screamed in her crib the entire time I was there, because the mom told me that the 10-month-old would be sleeping. So I didn't go get her. I just left her in the crib to scream for the entirety that the mom was gone. Also, I didn't know. I never worked with a 10-month-old.
Oh my God.
So
I don't know if I would entrust a 12 or 13-year-old with a 10-month-old.
There was a 3-year-old and then like a 5-year-old. And the 5-year-old wanted to make paper mache. And he told me that we had to mix flour with water, and then proceeded to get flour and water all over the house. And I didn't know anything about paper mache or 3-year-olds or 6-year-olds or 5-year-olds, and it was just.
So you had the baby screaming in the crib. You had the 5-year-old putting plaster of Paris all over the place, and then what was the 3-year-old doing? Running down the driveway,
following the She was following her brother around, smearing the stuff all over the place. And when the lady got home, I was supposed to get paid $2.50 an hour. I remember that. When she got home, her house was such a mess. The baby had a poopy diaper. It had exploded in the crib, so she had to do laundry. And she didn't pay me. So she drove me home. We didn't really have very many words. And I got out of the car, and that was the end of my babysitting career. So fast forward to when I was in college, I found a job where a woman worked. She worked like from, I think it was 5 p.m. to like 2 a.m. And so what I would do is I would go to her house, and it was only like 2 or 3 nights a week. I would go to her house. The boys, we would eat dinner. I would put them to bed at 7 or 7:30 and put them in their jammies, clean them up from dinner. They would watch a little bit of TV or something. And then I would sit there until 2. She would come home at like 2:30 or whatever. And then I'd leave. And because I was in college and I didn't sleep before, 2 or 3 in the morning anyway, it was perfect. Fine. Once in a while, if I was really tired, I'd fall asleep on the couch. And when she got home, she'd wake me up and I'd leave, and then she'd be there. She was a single mom. And so I'm sure you know what I'm going to say next. She paid me $8 an hour. And I remember at the time, the minimum wage, I think, was like $5.50 an hour. So that was good pay.
Yeah.
One night she didn't come home until 4 a.m. And when she came home, I could smell that she'd been drinking. She said she had gone out after work with some friends, and sorry she was late. That night I did fall asleep on the couch, and she did wake me up at like 4, and I had to. That was rough because, when you have classes the next day, but then she started doing it more frequently. And one morning at 7:30 in the morning, she came home.
I kept getting later.
And I had woken up at 7, realized that one of the kids was awake, and had to get the kid up and get breakfast. And these boys were like 1 and 5. I mean, they were pretty big, 2 and 5, something like that. It was 2 little boys. And they liked me and they knew me. But when they woke up in the morning, they wanted to see their mom. They didn't want to
Yeah.
see me. And also I was concerned because I had class at 8.
Oh my
And
God.
so she showed up at 7:30 in the morning, and it was obvious that, and she was very apologetic. And maybe I was a lot more assertive back then. I was definitely a lot more hot-headed, but I remember telling her, you're going to have to find somebody new. And I quit right then and there on the spot, because I felt like she'd already had a chance, because she'd come home at 4 in the morning and not told me about her drink.
Right.
And this was before texting, and cell phones. So it wasn't like she could call me and tell me.
Yeah. And she kept pushing it.
Well, and the fact that she didn't, I mean, what if something had gone wrong?
Right.
You know, what if one of the boys had gotten sick and woken up during the night throwing up? I mean, I was a 21-year-old student.
Yeah.
I wasn't their relative, you know, it wasn't their grandma. So I just felt like that was really crossing a boundary for her. And I will tell you, someone else had found that job for me. And they were trying to help this single mom get back on her feet. And I told the woman who found the job for me, I said, thank you so much. But I said, this is what happened. And I said, I feel badly for those boys, but it's not my responsibility. And she said, could I get you to at least give her one more chance while she finds somebody? And I said, no. I said, she already had a chance.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, and also I said, I'm in school. I said, you know, that's very disrespectful. So I was very assertive at that time. And then the next time I watched a kid, I watched my niece when she was 4, one night a week when I lived in Portland, Oregon. And man, there's such a huge difference between babies and 4-year-olds. First of all, she would bring like an arsenal of Barbies. And I had a window. My room was on the 2nd floor, and I had a window, and she'd throw the Barbies out the window. Now I had no screens. She could have fallen out the window. I think about this now, and I'm like, who was watching the child? She'd throw the Barbies out the window, and I'd run outside down the front step and collect the Barbies, and she'd be hanging out the 2nd floor window looking at me, and I'm like, of course, it never occurred to me that like she
shut
could
the
fall.
window.
Exactly. I mean, you know, God.
I don't want to state the obvious, but
I used to now, and she was very picky eater, and I used to be responsible for getting her dinner, and then sometimes she would fall asleep, and her parents would pick her up at like 9 p.m. So I'd have her from like 4 to 9, which is for a weeknight, that's a chunk of time.
Yeah.
And then I'd take her to this little restaurant that was down the street from where I lived, and they had burgers and fries and hot dogs and milkshakes. And I'd order food, and then she'd just throw all the fries on the floor and make a big mess and never eat anything.
God.
And finally, I just got tired of like trying to entice her with like delicious food. And one night I said, what do you want to eat? And I had those little bags of Fritos, and she goes, I want some Fritos. And I put them in a bowl. And I said, what do you want? She goes, I want some cheese on top. And I was like, okay. So I melted some cheese on top. And then she goes, I want milk. So we poured milk, and she ate it like cereal. And she said it was like the best thing she'd ever had. And then the next week she wanted like instant top ramen noodles.
With milk?
No, just top ramen. And from then on, that was all she ate. And I was like, well, you know what? If all she wants is like a 20-cent pack of top ramen, knock yourself out. And I was like, I mean, I just fed her whatever she wanted. One time it was popcorn with milk on it. And it was,
oh my God.
Yeah, because I would give her whatever she wanted to eat. She just sometimes, I think, got really creative. She didn't eat a lot. But anyway, so that was my exposure to watching kids. So like I said, it wasn't a lot. And then fast forward, I had my own kids. So yeah, then when my oldest daughter was a year old, I started watching a little boy who was also the same age. He was like a couple days older than her, like 2 days older. Mm-hmm. And I watched him until he was almost 5.
Wow,
and that's
a long time.
Yeah, they were kind of like twins. I potty trained him. At the same time, I potty trained my kid. And, you know, they always say that boys are a little bit more delayed or slower. Well, he beat my kid to the potty training game like by months. Yeah. And they had a lot of fun together. I had a lot of fun with both of them because, you know, she had a built-in playmate. It was great.
Right. Yeah. Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, it was really nice. And then also I stayed home with my kid. And so it gave me an opportunity to like just get really good at doing the things that, kids do at different stages from birth to, school age, kindergarten age, age 5.
That's great. No, you were able to spend her formative years with her.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't do it because we were altruistic and trying to save the world. We did it because we were really poor and couldn't afford daycare.
But
so for those of you out there like, what an advantage. I mean, we're eating like canned tuna and rice and, so, and breastfeeding until the kid was like 35. But anywho, I just have some suggestions for success. Okay, if you're going to be watching little ones. The first thing is an apron with pockets. I know that I have poo-pooed the pockets in the past, but listen, an apron is so valuable because, one, they're either going to spit up or throw up or snot on you. So it covers your clothes and protects your clothes from stains. Number 2, the pockets, you can put your phone in it, your keys, you can put sippy cups. You'd be amazed how much stuff. An apron.
If you're like going to different levels of the house, it's probably helpful.
If you are not,
this is why I wear a crossbody strap on my cell phone.
Yeah, if you're not someone who cooks, you could wear a fanny pack. That would be just as valuable because then you can keep everything and your hands are free.
I was just gonna say the most important thing is that your hands free.
It's true.
You got to wrangle up the kids.
Also, if you wear pants or shirt with pockets, so when you take off the apron, you have pockets, man. I can't tell you how clothing with no pockets is just a curse. Because inevitably, I can't tell, the thing that children hand me the most is boogers. It's true. And it's always either at ballet class or when you're sitting in a restaurant or someplace where you don't have a tissue on you. I gotta tell you, pockets are great places to put boogers.
Okay.
It's true.
I'm hearing Steve Harvey on Family Feud going, 100 people were surveyed.
Yeah.
What was the
survey
topic?
says. The other thing, and for those ladies out there listening to this, because there are nannies as well, men who are nannies, guys, your bra doubles as a pocket. You take whatever it is.
A bunch of boogers in there.
You tuck the boogers in the bra. Might make them bumpy later, but who cares?
I guess you can't just wipe it on your leg or
you
something.
can, but then you've got like a crusty booger on your leg. Everyone can see. Anyway, the next thing I'm gonna just throw out there that is success stuff. Baby wipes. Keep a pack of baby wipes in your car for spills and for wiping. They're also great for wiping your windshield and your like counters down when they get real dusty, or because kids are sneezing, throwing up, you name it. And baby wipes are I can tell you how many times a kid has thrown up on their car seat and you have to dig like the throw up out of the
crevices.
And then also for kids that shit in the car, you got, it's also good for when you have to run into a public restroom and it's disgusting and little ones are touching everything. They double as like wipes for the hands, wipes for the face. And then also like for diaper changes, etc. Baggies, like dog baggies. Keep like 2 or 3 rolls in your car. They are so important.
They're
and the
so
other thing
handy.
Is, remember, adults have accidents too. It's not just kids. You can put all manner of things in those baggies, and they hold a lot.
Yeah,
they
do.
hold an exploded like outfit that's got poop everywhere. They hold an adult diaper. They hold dog shit from a large breed dog.
Yeah,
they hold throw up. They are so.
It's very useful, and it's rolled up, so it doesn't take a lot of space. It's not like trying to carry a bunch of plastic grocery bags, because those actually take up a lot of space. But a roll of dog poop bags, they're really useful. I use it for more than just poop. I carry some in my car and my bag, and I have it all over the place.
Yep. The next thing is a large crossbody bag or a backpack. The backpack is ideal because it's hands-free. But
I love backpacks.
But the large crossbody bag is good too, because there's a lot of and get something that you can wipe down or throw in the wash. This idea that you have to have a designer diaper bag or is so stupid.
'Cause it's just gonna
First
get
of all, who
yucky.
cares if it says Prada if your kid's throwing up on it?
Right.
And also, I mean, how many poopy diapers do you want to put in your Gucci or
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton bag?
Yeah.
So, and there are plenty of really sturdy, washable, cute bags. Like Petunia Pickle Bottom makes a really cute, like, they use like Japanese like silk patterns that are really cute and they're very stylish. So, the next is non-spill cups of any kind. Teach your kids to drink from cups as quickly as you can and get non-spill cups, because no child ever will set their cup upright.
Right.
You know, so people will buy spill cups, you know, and also something that when it hits the ground, the top's not going to pop off. And also, like, we bought those Whole Foods glass water bottles that had like the rubber cover on, and I can't tell you how many times those shattered.
Oh, yeah.
So don't buy glass.
I'm constantly knocking stuff. I knocked my coffee thing over and it had a lid, but I didn't have the thing like shut.
Oh, no. Yep.
Yeah, it was all over your carpet.
Anyway, also comfortable sandals and or tennis shoes.
Don't be wearing your stilettos.
Yeah. There is a time and place for
Nanny.
everything. You can buy cute sandals. And
She tried, though. She
you can
did
buy
try.
cute sandals and cute tennis shoes. But remember, when you're chasing a 4-year-old down the street because they saw a butterfly and they want to go investigate, you need to not fall down. The number of videos I've seen where people are chasing their child or the dog bolts and they're holding the leash.
So
and
scary.
literally they're like bumping down. Like, you don't want to break your tailbone.
No.
And then the last thing is comfortable clothing. Make sure that your clothing is not restrictive. Make sure that if you're wearing, nowadays they make a lot of skirts with built-in shorts, which is so nice for squatting. But the last thing anyone wants to see is someone's old lady cooter when they're bending over to tie a toddler's shoelaces, especially
if there's someone that does not wear underwear.
Exactly.
That could
so
be
the
precarious.
comfortable clothing, like one of the things I really like is, you know, the maxi skirt is in now. Maxi skirts are so good.
Maxi dresses, maxi skirts are so comfortable.
Also, remember, little kids love to lift things up and climb under them. So I can tell you that, like, you know, I had a very shy child that would like scurry under my skirt in the grocery store if somebody would like talk to her. And so, like, you do not want everything on display. And this was back when they weren't putting in the built-in shorts.
Make sure you wear underwear.
Yeah, and if you're wearing a skirt, put some shorts underneath, all right?
You might have some random child.
Exactly. Also, the other thing is you need to have games, puzzles, games, cards, flashcards, you name it. Keep them in your car, keep them in your bag. Because when you go to a restaurant, nobody loves, like, kids love, it doesn't even matter what the card game is. It could be a game they can play. It could be a deck of cards. They just love cards. And so
playing cards?
It keeps them busy. Yeah. And the other thing is, playing cards have that laminate stuff. If you buy dry erase markers, they can mark on them and you can wipe it off.
Look at it. These are very helpful hints. I would not have thought of that.
Yeah. Because the other thing is, you don't always have a lot of room to bring toys places.
Right. And that's small, nice and small.
Yeah. And then the last thing is, that I was going to say is cooking and baking. If you enjoy working in the kitchen, one of the best things for little hands and little minds is put them on a little chair with an apron on or a stand. They make these toddler safe stands that kids can stand in from the time they're able to stand as they grow older. And they're great. You push it up to the counter. It kind of has like they can climb in themselves and climb up, and it has like a little strap so they can't fall down. And give them a bowl and a spoon, and they don't
some
have
dough and
or just give them a scooper, and then whatever you're putting into what you're making, let them put some in a bowl. They'll stir it, they'll taste it. You can't get sick from tasting flour and cinnamon and sugar and,
Yeah.
you know, and then give them a little dough and let them roll it around and stretch it and taste it. And it's sensory. It's really good for them. And also it gives them interest in like cooking and making things.
Yeah.
And even if it's inedible when you take it out of the oven, if you put it in a little pan and say, that one's yours, they are so proud that they made something.
So
and then when it comes
sweet.
out, they want to cut it and put butter on it and eat it. They want you to eat it. They want everyone to taste their loaf. And then they, you know, it gets them also interested in trying things that they maybe wouldn't try otherwise.
Oh, that's where my life went wrong.
That's
my mom
right.
didn't do that with me, and now I have a hatred of cooking.
So I just want to talk about some skills that you have to have. If you're going to consider being a nanny or a babysitter.
I know that I have zero of these skills.
The first one is consistency, and that is so important. You have to be consistent. If you have breakfast at 9 and then you clean up breakfast before you move on to your next task, do that every day, because kids really thrive on schedule and consistency and things happening at the same time. Mm-hmm. Also consistency with like your behavior and what you allow and what you don't. So if today they have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, tomorrow they need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you don't skip a meal all day, you know, or mm-hmm. like just, you know, if they're not allowed to eat candy for breakfast today, they're not allowed to eat candy tomorrow. And so the consistency applies to also like their behavior. Right. And then they learn, this is allowed, this is not allowed, this is how I'm supposed to behave myself, this is how I'm not. And that doesn't mean they're not going to push it, but consistency is really important.
Right.
And they thrive on it. The other thing is positivity, because remember, it goes hand in hand with repetition, because you repeat things over and over and over. And if you're screaming at your kid and saying, get out of there, you little fucker, that's not positivity. And also, like, if you don't like repeating things, this is not the job for you, because you're going to say a million times, take your finger out of there, or stop touching that, or, you know, that's not how, we don't do that. And it's also really good to like use positive messaging, you know, mm-hmm. like, how about instead of hitting somebody with that, we use it to blow bubbles with, or mm-hmm. how about instead of putting that in your nose, we use it to eat our yogurt with. So like, you know, giving them positive messages instead of saying like, take that out of your nose, dum-dum, like, or,
yeah.
Because they'll repeat everything you say.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah, they're little sponges.
Exactly. Also, this is my favorite, but songs and stories.
Oh, she loves to sing.
Songs and stories. Children love music. You point me in the direction of a child that doesn't love music. I've never, ever run into a child. If you start to sing to a child, and it doesn't matter if you're on key or off key, or if you know the words or you don't, a child will light up. Like, their face will literally light up. Yeah. And I will tell you, from the age of 6 weeks old, their face will light up. Aww. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And also for things that kids don't like to do as they get older, like changing their diaper, they don't enjoy it. They'll kick, they'll make, you know, they'll struggle. And,
yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't feel comfortable because they'll have diaper rash. If you sing to them when they're doing stuff like that, it makes it more pleasant. Yeah. And also, you give them a skill for life. You teach them about music, and then they learn the words. I take care of 3 little girls. The baby's almost 4 months old, and she lights up when I sing to her. And the cool thing too is that, like, all the girls know the same songs. So she's going to come into an environment where, you know, she and her sister are singing the same songs. Aww. And I think that's really special.
So do the older ones sing if you start singing to them?
Oh yeah, completely. And then when they come around the baby, they'll take her little fingers and hold hands, and they'll shake her hands and sing little songs. Like, it's so cute.
Oh, that's really sweet.
And also when the older ones go to nap, they'll lay in their cribs and sing. Oh, and a lot of times they're singing songs that we sing together. So it's really neat. It's really, really neat.
That's really sweet.
And I also rewrite the words to songs. So there's this song that goes skinamarink. It goes skinamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skinamarink-a-doo. I love you. But I've changed it so when we go to the bathroom, we say skinamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skinamarink-a-doo. I smell poo. And then a lot of the songs that I grew up singing in like church school and at church, I've also changed the words to that. And I've made them not like church songs anymore, but they're like, here comes the poo-poo train coming round the bend, toot toot. I know the engineer, he's my best friend, toot toot. Destination party with stops along the way. All aboard. Anyway, it's like a whole thing.
Oh,
and I've taught them to the kids. So it's really, really good because it can make a tedious task seem really fun.
Yeah.
Like there is this song that we used to sing in church when I was little, and it's like, shall we take a walk today? And so we go for walks, and I'll say, shall we go for a walk today? And the girls will sing with me. And then like when we're in the car on the way to ballet, I'll say, here we go to ballet time, ballet time, ballet time. And then there's just all these songs I've changed the words to. And so the girls, they know them. Like when I wake them up from nap, I sing a song. I sing, buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? And then in the process, they've also learned a lot of songs that they would have never, like, that are not, songs that kids know.
Right.
So Cheryl said to tell a couple of stories about nannying. So I'm going to tell a couple of
she's
short
got some funny
stories.
Ones. Wait, I do have a question after you gave those tips. Is there any difference between, so like, for example, the tips that you just gave, okay? Is there any difference between what you would do with your own children versus nannying or babysitting other people's children? Like, what would be like some main differences?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So when you're babysitting or nannying, you do have to follow the family's requests as long as they're within the law. So, if they say some families have very strict feeding schedules for their babies, you have to follow that. Obviously, like I said, within the law. So you want to make sure the baby's not hungry and screeching. But, if they have a strict schedule as far as we don't feed the baby before this time and we don't feed them anything but this, then that's fine. You follow those rules. Or if they say the baby has to go to bed at this time, even if they're awake and don't fall asleep for an hour, then that's what you do. But yeah, I mean.
How about disciplining? What if
some parents do timeouts, but some parents don't do any kind of discipline whatsoever. And honestly, those are usually families that I avoid taking care of their kids because I feel like for naughty behavior, there should be a consequence. And I also don't support corporal punishment. So, I'm not a spanker or a hitter or anything like that.
Yeah.
But also I don't like when parents say like, well, that was dumb,
Right.
So
now, what if you're in a situation where you don't agree with the parents, or I mean, I know you have to do what they want to do, but what if it's like really against what you would do with your own children? Would you say something to them, or would you just follow their rules?
A lot of times I have said things like, here's what I did when my kids were this age. And I will say, for the most part, I've been really fortunate to only work with families that ask for like recommendations, because remember, parenting is like, honestly, and I know there's millions of books out there you can buy,
but there's no.
But the fact of the matter is when you're in that moment, it's basically like you throw a bunch of shit at the problem and hope it sticks. It's not like anyone is sitting there going, well, I'm a specialist, and the books
I
say,
have a degree.
I remember hearing this woman on Oprah say that she could tell what was wrong with the baby by the sound of the pitch of its cry, whether it was hungry or whether it needed soothing or whether it was had a poopy diaper. And I was like, girl, you full of shit. Because I was like, that is the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, I mean, babies cry. End of story. You know why they cry? Because they can't speak yet. I was like, come on. There's no recipe for like, if they're dry and don't have a poopy diaper and their tummy is full and they're still crying, then let them cry. Like, there's a reason why they're crying. Like, that's the only sound that will come out of their mouth.
Right. So,
and also it's very healthy for a baby to cry. They are developing their lungs and their voice box, and, there's a, whatever it's, and some babies just cry more than others.
So was that lady on Oprah as a expert in
Yeah, I just remember rolling my eyes, and I was like, because we had a colicky baby. I was like, why don't you come over to my house? I'll show you I'll show you what babies do when they cry all day and night. So anyway, so the first story I'm just gonna tell really short because I don't want to we don't want to do a 2-hour podcast on nannying. The old adage that like if it gets too quiet you should definitely investigate is true. It was around the time that the kids were that I had a second child, and so obviously the toddlers were around 3. You're not getting a lot of sleep, and I was tired, and I had sat down and I thought the kids were like having quiet time. And I heard a little giggle, but I wasn't paying attention. And what they had done is they had taken all of these plastic Duplo blocks. They're like Legos, but like much, much larger, like, a pretty big size. And they had piled them in the toilet. And the lid was open so that nobody, and we only had one bathroom, so that nobody could sit on in the toilet. And also the toilet had not been flushed earlier. So it was a hot mess. And of course I discovered it when I had to go really bad. And so I couldn't go. God. I had to actually like empty it out in order to, and then it was one of those things where it was like, do we just throw away the blocks or do we disinfect them? Yeah. And then like, let me tell you, getting all the blocks out of a poopy toilet was so awful. Yeah, I know. It's your nightmare, right?
Nightmare. Did you just sanitize it, or did you throw it?
No, I just bagged them up and threw them away.
God, what a so task gross. That would have been.
The next one little just anecdote is like when you think about like worst case scenario things happening, it really, truly, truly will. We took the kids to Pumpkin Patch. And one of the kids had a massive blowout of diarrhea at the pumpkin patch. But it wasn't like the kind of diarrhea that you can clean up and put a diaper. It was the kind where it's watery and it's on everything. And everything smells like you want to vomit. Yeah. And it was all through the car seat. And I didn't bring an extra change of clothes. And they were standing on the back part of the car and it was just like running. And you can't pick it up at that point. And it was like, so the kid had to ride home naked in the car seat that was already like contaminated and disgusting. And then and of course it wasn't my kid. And then I had to present this child to their parent when they came to get
naked
them.
And
completely buck naked. With a diaper on. Oh, and the kid was potty trained. That was the other thing. So it was like impossible because it's like, then we had to put a diaper back on the kid that's potty, and of course, they're like, why am I wearing a diaper? But it was just awful. And all the clothes are dirty. And it was a little boy and I only had girl clothes. And that wasn't so much the issue. It was just, do we even dare put anything on this child? Because it's just going to be ruined.
Right.
Yeah, that was like a lot. And then of course, like the mom was like, well, where are the clothes? And I was like, well, they were completely ruined, believe me. So I just literally walked them to the trash and she was like upset because she wanted to wash them. And I was like, where was I supposed to put those things? Because I didn't have a bag. The kids were potty trained.
Those poop bags,
yeah, I didn't have poop bags. I didn't have wipes on me. I didn't have extra clothes in the car. I mean, it was like a comedy of errors. It was just like, one of those bad things. Yeah. So anyway, just final thoughts. Remember, this is not for everyone. So if you get a job as a nanny or babysitter as a summer job or like evenings, and you are looking at the clock, counting down the minutes, it's not for you. I will tell you that during the daytime, the time flies by so quickly I don't look at the clock. And so if you are staring at the clock, this is definitely like look for a different gig.
Yeah.
Also, don't sweat the small stuff. Kids get dirty, clothing gets stained, kids fall down and get scrapes on their knees and their elbows and their hands. That's not a big deal. Don't freak out if kids don't eat certain things. Find things that they will eat. No child ever died from eating too many goldfish crackers. I am here to tell you that. And goldfish crackers are an acceptable food source for any culture and any country. If you hear or see bad behaviors, don't freak out. Remember that reacting to them is sometimes the best reinforcement for that behavior to continue. So just take a deep breath. Remember, you have to be very patient and always reinforce positive behavior, because you will see results.
Right.
But they will respond to you if you're positive and upbeat and you keep things positive. This child will respond to you. They will run to you eventually after the transition period. They'll run to you when they see you in the morning. They'll hug you. They'll tell you how much they love you and adore you. And when you leave, they'll say, "Don't leave." It's tried and true. And then the other thing is, get lots of sleep. The last thing you want to do when you are watching kids is be yawning and tired, because you are going to be exhausted.
It sounds exhausting.
Yeah, because you cannot be on your B game. You have to be on your A game. And then hydrate, drink lots of water, because you don't want to get sick and fall over and pass out on kids. Like, you have to be in charge of them. That means you have to be watching them all the time. I think I saw somewhere, like, American Red Cross said that a child can drown in like an inch of water. So if you think about it, it's like, you have to be on your A game. That little boy fell in that gorilla's cage. He was 3. And I remember people coming. We've talked about this, coming for the mom. I was like, anyone who has been around a 3-year-old can attest. A 3-year-old is a shapeshifter. They literally will be there 1 second and you look away and they're gone.
Yeah.
And especially a high energy 3-year-old. It could be a boy or girl. People should have not come for that mom. People should have understood. But anyway, that's all I got for
exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Because you have to, of course, also with your own children, but if I was watching someone else's, child or children, I feel extra, obviously I wouldn't want anything to happen on my watch. So I would be like constantly like hyper vigilant, and it just sounds exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
I will not be applying for any nanny jobs anytime soon.
Yeah.
I will take care of a cat or
She
a dog.
will take care of cats and dogs, though. And I will say that I have another friend who takes care of dogs, like does dog sitting, and she absolutely adores it. So, different strokes for different folks. But those of you who know me, I love babies. I mean, if I could somehow,
she would be Angelina Jolie.
If I could somehow conjure up another baby, out of these dried up, dehydrated ovaries, I would totally do it. Like, as much as I dislike being pregnant, I would do it again just to have.
You could adopt like Angelina Jolie. You could be Joy Jolie.
Yeah, I don't think my husband would be on board with that. Anyway, if you guys can think of a way for me to figure out how to get him on board, and also how to get these dehydrated ovaries to produce another child, reach out and let me know at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com. Anyway, if you have not tried your hand at nannying, Cheryl, it's a real crime. But you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
That is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch managed by Cheryl Yamaguchi. Podcast editing, advertising, and social media managed by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible.com, Amazon Music, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.